Hello, I am one of your co-directors, Bob Reeker from Lincoln, Nebraska. And on behalf of Dr. Trina Harlow, who is my co-director, as well as the founder of OATK12 and the 9 team leaders, I want to welcome you to today's Talking Points. We try to share with you a video every week or every other week, just on some topics or ideas that come to mind that might support you as an art educator. You'll notice I am sharing with you a still picture because I'm on my 4th day of not shaving. This is our second cold day here in Lincoln, Nebraska, as our temperatures got as low as about 30 below with wind chills of 40 to 45 below. So I've not shaved for 4 days, but plan to in the morning when I head back to school. So please enjoy my still photo. The word or the concept that I want to share with you today is one that's been on my mind, one that I've been sharing with my students recently, and that word is resiliency, or being resilient. This idea of being able to power through, bounce back, reform yourself after challenging issues is an important concept for human beings, but especially important as we have dealt with this pandemic now for the last year, both in our professional as well as our personal lives. So I just want to share a few ideas around this concept of resiliency. As I mentioned, for nearly a year now, we've been dealing with the concept of what it's like to live in a pandemic. And you'll recall that Dr. Trina Harlow started this group back on March 11th, 2020. And that takes us up till today. So nearly 11 or a little over 11 months now, we've been working through how to teach children in a very challenging time in a variety of different ways. Part of this also is this idea of building resiliency, and that's whether you're doing it for yourself or you're working with learners who are trying to build resiliency. It's a key concept that we've all had to focus in on and work through. So here's some ideas. One of the ideas, of course, is this idea of what kinds of strategies do we use to build resiliency? Well, I think one of the most important things we can do is we can acknowledge that we have a struggle, we have a challenge, we have something we're trying to deal with in our lives, something that can be very hard for us, that can really make it difficult for us to go day to day. And a key strategy also is then asking for that support, whether it be somebody that you know personally or getting onto the OATK12 page and asking for support that way. Looking at different strategies and supporting those strategies is key. Then also asking for that help and then being able to provide that help for others by supporting others. How do you take what you've learned during your resiliency, during your struggles and your challenges, and how do you offer that up to others as support? And then a key piece to this too is the sense of hope. Never losing sight that hopefully tomorrow will be better, next week will be better, a month, a year, 5 years from now will be better, and we can get through this together as a group. Another reason I've been focusing on resiliency is this is the unit for my K through 5 students right now, this third quarter. My district of Lincoln Public Schools uses theme-based learning. Each quarter we focus on a different theme, and this quarter is what is resilient behavior, and then how do we use what we learn, what we know, what our strengths are in order to support others. So let me show you a few examples. Always we provide inspirations to our children, our learners, as they begin their units and throughout the units. And so one of our focuses in our districts is to provide lots of diversity. We use old masters, we use contemporary, we use people with very diverse backgrounds. We make sure we have both male, female artists as well. So these are examples of artists who create images of strength as well as share those strengths then with others. So on the left here, we have Jayashri Krishnan. The artist picture is down there at the bottom. And she has a really interesting story that during the pandemic here, she has gone into hospitals and painted watercolor portraits of the different medical care workers. And then she gives those paintings to the people as part of documentation, sharing their strength through a painting and then sharing her talent and strength back with them by giving them the painting. On the right is a beautifully hand-painted realistic painting by Sunil Shagankar. And I use this painting with my youngest of learners, K1, to just show this idea of how you share kindness, how you share a strength that you might have with others. And this is just such a beautiful painting to share that with young children. Here's some other examples that I use with my older students, showing artists who are resilient during their lives or depict resiliency in their work. So everyone, of course, is familiar with Frida Kahlo as well as Henri Matisse. We talk about their physical ailments and the difficulties they had to go through, but still were resilient because they were creators. They wanted to create work and they found ways to do that. And then Pape Solomon is a contemporary artist. He's there pictured in the center looking at one of his photorealistic portraits that he paints of African immigrants. He wants to put an identity and an honor to those people who often risk their lives, their livelihood, in order to leave their home country for a new home, a new place to go. So these images were wonderful, and these artists were wonderful for me to use with my older students to really show how artists have been resilient and or showed resiliency in their work. Here's some examples of student planning. We're only about 3 weeks into the unit, but here are some images that we're working on. The one on the left here is by a kindergarten girl who we spent a day talking about how we might be kind or share our strengths with other people. So this young lady drew a picture of herself helping a homeless person with both money and food. You know, the power of stories and how children can depict those can be all the way down to 5 and 6 year olds. The images here in the center are from 2nd and 3rd grade. We've been focusing on this idea how what we create can bring joy to others. So this idea of giving of yourself to surprise somebody or make somebody feel good is the focus of the 2nd and 3rd grade unit. So the top image here is images of things that either bring the artist joy or people around them joy. And then we're using things like pipe cleaners, wires, twisties to create small sculptures that they'll be able to give away, as well as they'll have the opportunity to make one for themselves. And then the final couple images here are sketches that my 4th and 5th graders are creating, where they're trying to tell a personal challenge, struggle, resiliency story. You know, the one on the top is about her struggle of having a cast. The one on the bottom is about learning using the computer during the pandemic. So some really strong images. I mean, I've had kids in 4th and 5th grade who are looking at body shaming as a concept that they might tell their story about. Another one who is a foster care child who has been in several homes and might tell her story through that. I have another child from Iraq who was in a school as a very young child and said that the educators there were very strict and punished them if things were difficult. So that student may tell the story. I have another child who is hearing impaired and may use that as an inspiration for his work. So really this idea of how do we come up with ideas and then how do we work through those ideas using the theme that we're focusing on of resiliency. So as I close out with you today, I think it's important for us to remember that we as adults need to continuously work on this idea of meeting challenges and working through them, but then we pass on to our students that same importance as well, because as youngsters, they need to learn that challenges don't have to be an ending point. They can be a starting point. They can be a place where they have to dig deep. They have to look at strategies. They have to look for others for help. And they have to hold on to a sense of hope. And all that is pointed out in this slide here for you as you're looking. So thank you today for joining me for just a few minutes here as we talked about resiliency. We hope that you will continue to ask for support and help from the 19,200 plus art educators that are part of OATK12. And then we please ask you to take what you've learned through your challenges, through your struggles, and through your sense of resiliency, and share that back out to people. You can do that with us, and you can certainly do that with your colleagues that you work with every single day in your schools across the country. I hope you are safe wherever you are. I hope you're warm wherever you are, and I hope you continue to build through and support others through a sense of resiliency.